morning, good evening, as Jerry says. Guys, we never know when you're watching this, but today, as you see, Jerry's gone, or either he's got hair and he's sitting with us. But what we're going to do today, we're going to introduce the newest member to our team, Josh Kelley, and let you know what Josh does. As you know, if you've watched this long enough, you know each of us have different specialties. And Josh is no different. And Josh is like Brandy and I. This is a live show. We all have dogs with us. So you'll hear a dog bark every now and then. Just realize they're enjoying the show too. So, Brandy, anything you'd like to say about Josh before we get started?
Gosh, Josh, how many years have we known each other now? I don't know. Like, I've been in the industry 10 years, but I don't think I've known you all that 10 years.
I would say, like, really known each other like 3.
Okay. So 3, yeah. So no, I was so excited that Josh was coming on board. I was especially so excited that he's getting his Service Titan certified administrator because there's a huge demand for that. So nope, I'm just excited to have him on the team.
Great. And I'm going to let Josh talk. Tell us all what we've got to do. Then I'm sure Brandy and I will have questions about what he's going to do. So, Josh, you want to take the mic and go?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that I offer is going to be SOPs and intranets/wiki sites. Me and Brandy had this conversation recently. They're about the same thing, but basically an internal site for employees only that will have their knowledge base, their SOPs, and internal training documents all in one place. The one good thing, especially for trade companies, people that are working, a lot of people are working remotely, CSRs, dispatchers, technicians, they all work remotely from each other. So if a technician ever has a question about an SOP or something like that, they don't have access to that because they're in a truck and they're not there. Usually most companies will have like a handbook on at the best a shared drive if you're that lucky to do that. Or they'll have a desk on some HR manager's desk. And anytime you made an update to that book, it'd have to be printed again and redistributed. So one of the things, like I said, I make it so it's easy for everybody to take time off that they need. Then I make it easy for them to know what the paid time off policy is, what the call out policy, how we do anything procedure is kind of what we do. That way there's less fumbles in the handoff. We can maintain quality control. So I was like, well, it was all written that you need these 10 things. We had a checklist for you to go over before you went. You said you had all the materials. What happened here? And so that allows everybody to have that access 24/7 on any internet connected device. So that's really kind of my big specialty.
I've got to say, Josh, in the very beginning, the first time I met you, which was quite a few years ago, never would have dreamed you were in the geek realm. But I am so glad. But my main question is, what made you decide to go into Service Titan and become administrator? That is a hard thing to get through.
Oh, it is very challenging. As I've told Brandy, Brandy told me that, it was so hard. It was harder than my nursing. And I thought it was just because she wasn't tech friendly like I am. And as I told her about a few tests in, I said, oh man, I was so wrong. I was really wrong. This is hard.
Funny story about that, Josh. Yesterday, I was on a call with a Service Titan employee, and she's dating a guy who works for a consulting company, and he just finished his certified provider. And she was looking at the questions and stuff over his shoulder, and she's like, I work for Service Titan, and I don't even know the answer to that.
Exactly. So it's definitely very, very challenging. It's a very hard test. And Brandy's right. It was there. I can only ever think of one test that I ever took was harder, and that was for my internal audit class, which was like a CPA class. That was the only thing I could ever think that was harder than this. My wife will tell you, I can't tell you got to have an 80 on every exam. I come up with like a 78, like on more than one occasion. And the screams would just come up from the basement of, not again.
Some days you just can't win, Josh. You just have to go the best you can. And I know you will get completely through it.
Yeah.
I've seen you do stuff that I've never seen done before. You made the website for your company, the one with all the knowledge on it. And what was the name of that again?
I call it wiki sites, but as Brandy says, she's always known them as intranets.
But I like your old name. Tell us what the old name was for it, the original name.
Oh, it was What Would Josh Do? And other shit you should read before asking Josh.
Good answer. And I know we're getting a little off, but this is something you could also help people with. Would you recommend that every company had something like that?
Absolutely, because it holds every member of that team accountable to a standard. Because you can talk about something in your meeting and said, "Hey, we agreed we were going to do all our installs this way." You made a document. You signed off that you had a document. So, it holds that person accountable. It doesn't matter what size the organization is. If you're not on site, managing every aspect of that, it's hard to hold someone accountable when so many people are in so many places.
And Josh, this is me not being tech savvy. So can you tell when an employee logs into the wiki site?
I can.
Because I'm thinking that would be excellent. Like when you're asking them, well, did you, log in and look at the checklist or whatever? And then they're saying, yes, I did. If you can show like, no, you didn't.
Yeah, I can. The way mine is set up, I have two types of tracking. I have like a regular Google Analytics tracking, and then I have specific document tracking. So I have an entire audit trail of every time, it's second by second of every time anyone's ever accessed a document. So I recently had a technician just check out, and he was on a guest service call for 3 hours, and which is normally like 45 minutes to an hour. And, he didn't do any of his, he just checked out mentally, didn't do any of the things. He didn't check his gas troubleshooting guide. He didn't call the manufacturer. I was unavailable. I was with the accountant that morning. And so he just checked out. And then, of course, what was my response? I was completely unhappy. And he got an ass showing because I'm like, after 3 hours, you hadn't even checked your troubleshooting guide. Your answer was in there. You could have called the manufacturer. They would have given you the answer. All these would have taken 5 minutes or less, but instead you were there 3 hours.
And one thing I want to say to all the listeners or anybody that will listen to it in the future, Josh is different from a lot of people that do things like this. He's lived it. He's walked the walk. He's talked the talk. He's not just pulling it from someone else's knowledge. He has actually been in the chimney service business. How many years now, Josh? I know you were born into it, I think.
Almost 20 years continuous, but I've done every job inside of a service company: helper, installer, service tech, operations, general manager, bookkeeper, you name it. I've done every single job, the warehousing, swept the floors. So I know what it takes to get these things done. So like I said, I know how long it takes to do a service call. So you're not gonna pull that wool over my eyes.
And you have that retail showroom piece as well, that experience as well.
Yes. So especially, which is a whole different set of experiences,
Mm-hmm.
A whole different set of SOPs, and a whole set of different challenges.
This gives you a lot of knowledge in the chimney service business, but business is business, actually. So basically, a lot of the same things would balance out in other businesses. Agree?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So we don't want to just put you out there as just for the chimney tech. We want to put you out there for people that need knowledge.
Yeah, and like I said, with the intranets, it doesn't matter who you are. If you need to record training on a piece of equipment, like here's what we do before, one thing I have is here's how to clean the equipment when you're done with it. Because if they don't clean it properly, then the equipment's going to be ruined for the next guy who uses it. So then, especially if you combine that with a check-in and with a checkout list, you'll know, who's not doing things correctly. Because some of these, it could be a $500 mistake without even batting an eye because they didn't, put some WD-40 on something.
And Brandy, this question's for you. The question is, would it been a lot different and a lot easier for you if you'd have known Josh in the beginning of starting where you did?
Oh yeah. I mean, and once I did get to know Josh, I mean, his wiki site, I just can't say enough about it. In fact, as we were talking, there was somebody in, I think it's Chimney Chatter or Professional Chimney Sweep Forum that had posted yesterday or this morning asking like, what are people using? What other platforms are people using outside of Service Titan for like HR and SOPs and things? And I'm thinking like Josh's wiki site is perfect for that. I've always worked at larger companies before this that had intranets or wiki sites, and they're just so beneficial because everything can live in one single spot, not me trying to go through my Google Drive and remember what I named something. Everything has its own purpose there. Josh, I would ask you, tell us who is your ideal client? Like everybody's always asking with coaches, like, who is your ideal client? Like, so for me, I love training the office side. So the CSRs are my ideal client. Who's yours?
More of the managers and probably the technicians, because getting them on the same page is not always easy. But like I said, with the intranet, you can easily get, like I said, get them on the same page to do that.
Perfect. And tell us, when do you think you'll be done with your Service Titan certified provider? I'm going to put them on the spot, so we have to come up with a timeline.
30 to 45 days.
Okay, very good. I've already given Josh a client. I've already sent him somebody. And Josh, I started helping clients before where I was right where you're at, where all the level 1 tests were done, but I still didn't have the level 2 tests done. So if you guys are out there listening and you think that like Josh would be a good fit for you and you need Service Titan help, he certainly can take you on now.
Yeah, where Brandy's very good at the CSR dispatching side. I excel a lot more at the price book and form side of Service Titan. So that's kind of nice. And then if you need dispatching policies, Brandy wrote mine. So we have those.
Josh, you want to tell them how to get in touch with you. You don't have your email showing. So if you'd like to tell them how to get in touch with you to start with, we'll go ahead and do that.
My email address is josh@cvcsuccessgroup.com. I've also have a website set up, www.jd.pro. Just type it in right into your search bar like that, and it'll give you a little bit about me and how to contact me right on there.
You're already getting clients, Josh. Sean would like to contact with you on the price book. So
yeah, and I think Sean was also looking for help on, and Sean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, help on like really getting the job costing and inventory piece down. So Josh, you would be great for that.
Yep. I also do, my college background was in accounting. So the numbers things are a lot easier for me than some other people. But Brandy's really, as I always say, Brandy's really good with the human side of things. And I'm really good side with the non-human side, the numbers and the systems.
Which makes sense because I hate math. So I think you're like left-brained and I'm right-brained.
Exactly. So there's
I think everything rounds out. I mean, the more people we get on the CVC Success Group, the more things we can offer. And we're finding people that marry in well with the group, but also are free. They stay on their own and it works out really great. So anybody that would like to get a hold of Josh, please do. And we're not closing up. I just wanted to make sure we did that because I know I've got texts that some people are going to have to leave soon. I wanted to make sure they were available to get to him. So Brandy, more questions, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I guess just tell us, do you plan on traveling to clients? Do you plan on doing Zoom? Do you plan on doing hybrid, both? What does that look like?
I plan on doing both. You need to kind of get into someone's operation to see how they're operating. Maybe they're doing things better than what I was doing. Maybe I can improve upon their things. It's always such a great set of eyes. Have a second set of eyes, because Brandy was honestly everyone I showed my wiki site to. Brandy was the first person that was actually able to give me any insights on any of the, especially the office side, because everybody always looks at it and goes, "Whoa, this is incredible." How much time do you have in it? Which is, it's a never ending story. So that is, so it probably, a lot of it I can do remotely. A lot of these systems I've already set up. Some of us will be training your staff to take over these wiki sites. And so eventually you won't need me. And then because it is SOPs are always an ongoing process, always. And if you're a Service Titan user, your price book and your forms are always getting updated. Always. So it's an ever living thing that you're always doing.
And the wiki site's really like, it's endless what you can put in there, right? Like you can put your handbook, you can put your SOPs, you can put your vendor catalogs. Like it's really endless, the different file formats that you can put in there, videos, PowerPoints.
Yeah. So it's a great way, even if they're not your YouTube videos, I park other people's YouTube videos there. I park, let's just say there's 30 websites your employees need to access on the regular. I have shortcut links for all those. So there's just like, how do you, they're like, oh, I don't remember where I was supposed to go for that. And you're like, well, did you look at the shortcuts page? Did you look at the videos page? Did you go to we call them vendor sheets. Did you go to the vendor sheet and see, because it'll tell you where you can buy those materials from, look here first, second, third, fourth. So you can put all that information without them having to pick up the phone and call you, which is one of my things is like, wait a minute, that you have that information. Why are you calling me? Because, there's no need to get more than one person involved when it's your customer. You don't need me to be involved. You're trying to pass the buck and I've got 10 other thousand things going on. I can't keep track of your customers and what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And tell us about your forms, because I know you've spent a lot of times on forms, probably the conditional logic. And then I know you can put graphics and things in there, but you have to know HTML coding, and you know HTML coding. So talk to us about how your forms are.
So as you know, I have built custom brochures and custom graphics over the years. So I'm able to, with the use of HTML in the forms, I'm able to hang inside my forms. So especially mine, they're broke down by section. So if you have a firebox, a smoke chamber, the flue, I take some of the custom images and they actually live throughout that form. So each section will have custom images. They'll have they can have before and after pictures. They can have, it can just be a picture of a rooftop and you've got different things, cat, crown, flue, brick, flashing, all pointed out just on there. And with the HTML, I'm also able to do bring in different fonts and colors and sizing into your forms that really help break up the form as well.
So if you're listening, ChatGPT is probably not going to give you the right coding for that. So if you're listening and you have ideas for your forms and you want them to look different, and you don't have to be a Service Titan user for that, right? Like you could create forms for other platforms as well.
If they use HTML, I don't know how that specifically, other forms work. If they have an ability to use, if you edit them in an HTML format, there is ways to do that.
Wonderful.
And if I'm correct, Josh, you have your retail side in your wiki site also.
I do.
So you're not limited to technicians. It can go into basically anything that needs the wiki site.
Well, just for example, like, we have 16 fireplace displays. Each one has a different dressing on it. Well, I don't want to, I have these beautiful displays. I don't want to junk them up with tons and tons of information. I've got little 8x8 plaques on them that are up there with 3mm tape. They're clean. They're, on a metal backing. They're vinyl. They don't fade. So they're very nice and clean. I don't want to go into, okay, this is a maple mantle with, this color stain from this vendor and this size. And then the wall color is, tangerine. And then we use black galaxy granite or this model stone with this color. And then we have these accessories on the unit. So I literally have pictures of every fireplace in the showroom with all the finishes and all the accessories in one place. That way, okay, I really, really like this color. What was that color? I even have the Valspar number listed there. And if it's like the showroom, like the walls in the showroom, like I have the showroom paint listed there, because if we need to do touch-ups, they just can go to Lowe's. Okay, I need a quart of flat, this color, and we have that information saved. I even have the light bulb bulb numbers and K values in there. That way we order the same bulbs and the lumen value every single time. That way, if I, have to go back a year later, I can make sure the bulbs look the same. That way we don't have a bright white light and a yellow light and a green light or whatever going down across the displays.
So Josh, are you ready to start? And I know you've already started. I'm not going there, but are you ready to start in the traveling part of it? Or are you going to work nearer to your location for a little while?
I'll be doing probably more regional travel where I don't have to get on the flight, but I can be, it's very easy for me to travel like Boston because my sister lives there. So that's 8 hours. That's, I can hit two birds with one stone. So it's always works great for me. So I can, from where I'm located, I can travel, I can get pretty good distance on most of the Northeast in a day's drive, which works well for me. I'm 2 hours from the airport, so I don't like to fly if I don't have to. But I can be, in Columbus, Ohio in 7 hours. I said Boston in 8, New York 4. So I'm pretty well centrally located.
Is that BWI that you're 2 hours from?
Yep.
Gosh, I didn't realize, because I've been to your place. I didn't realize you were that far though.
Well,
from BWI.
Remember I live south of the shop.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So adds a little driving time.
Yeah, it adds an extra hour.
I think that's the first consistency I've seen in you and Brandi. It's the fact you neither one like to fly.
Yeah, well, I'm a little bit bigger than Brandi, and I don't like being, put in a sardine can.
You know what's funny about that? Even though I might be small, we fly Southwest, and we always get like A1, A2, and I sit in the exit row, and it made a guy actually really mad when we were flying to Kentucky for HBPA. This guy got really mad that I was in the exit row, and I'm like, I paid to be here.
Yeah. Well, my flight back from San Antonio next week, I actually paid for the equivalent of a first class ticket on Spirit for the extra leg room, and as fancy as you can get on Spirit.
Yeah, I just don't do well. Like it's just sitting there for such a long time in one spot too. It just doesn't do well for me. If I have to almost have a movie that takes my attention completely into it, so the flight goes faster, because otherwise I'm just miserable. Like Jeremy's traveled internationally, and I've never wanted to because of the flight. I just need to teleport myself there, and then I would go.
Oh well, afraid that don't happen. But we can make everything else happen. I'm sure with Zoom, with like he says, 8 hours out. He's like Jerry. If it's within 8 hours, he usually drives.
Yep.
So I think we all prefer the vehicle over the airplane, even though a lot of times we have no choice. So we asked if I asked you, Josh, and your wiki site goes a little different. What would Josh do? We know what you're going to do. Where do you want to take your expertise to the most? Do you have a particular thing? Are you open? Are you an open book?
I'm pretty much an open book. I pretty much tell you anything you want to know, really and truly. That's kind of I don't know where to actually how to answer that question.
I didn't hardly know how to ask it either, but that's one advantage of having to sit in this seat. I can do that. But the thing is, the main thing is people out there have heard what you like to, or what you're going to do. You're going to be busier than anyone I can think of. So my suggestion, and I think Brandi will back me up, if you're interested in Josh, I think you want to move, because I'm sure his calendar is going to kick in very, very quickly and get very, very full.
He will end up with a wait list like the rest of us very quickly. So yeah, if you're watching this today, I would jump on that for sure. Because there's only so many hours in the day, and we're only one person.
No, and I still have 2 young kids.
I was going to ask about that. Tell the listeners just a little bit about your family life as well. I think people like to know, who are you outside of business?
Well, avid outdoorsman. I hunt. My son's in Boy Scouts, so we go camping and hiking, even though he says hiking sucks, but he's 6. We're very much into shooting sports. I'll be going into a friendly competition tomorrow. My daughter's in the piano. I play guitar, which I know shocked Brandy. The one day I was buying a guitar, she was like, "I didn't know you played guitar." I was like Brandy, I used to be a classically trained musician, which I think just blew her mind.
There goes that left brain again.
I was like, yeah, I played bassoon for 15 years. I guess, and like I said, I'm taking my daughter hopefully to the Mud Bog tomorrow. She's a little redneck, and she's going to be there for opening day of turkey season with me, I believe. So.
And you have a little cook in your family. I know you love to cook, and you have a little cook.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I thought I had expensive chef knives, and then I met a guy yesterday who spent 3 times as much as on his knives. And I was like, what do you get for that? Like, everyone looks at me because, thinks I'm crazy for spending what I spent on chef knives, but I love them. I use them as much as I can. And then this guy was spending well over $2,000 on a chef knife, and it just blew my mind.
Was he a professional chef, or was he just home? Wow.
He's a Porsche mechanic.
Wow. Okay.
Did they cut any better?
The ones he showed me are very pretty. They were, I mean, they're gorgeous. They're handmade works of art. But I was like, and I was telling my wife, I was like, how do I get to this level of knife buying? Because I need to be here. And she's like, not as long as you're anywhere near an office or working in the field.
I've seen some of your knives. They're very nice. They are very nice. And I do like the fact that you're doing friendly fire tomorrow. That's a nice thing to be saying there. But I've seen, and you've told us about things that you hunt. Don't you go on hunting trips?
I just came back from a hog hunt in Alabama. I'll go turkey hunting. Like, I'll be up in Pennsylvania in probably 4 weeks for turkey season. So I will travel for turkey season. And I actually turned down a Kentucky turkey hunt this year. I just had too much going on.
Well, tell us a little bit more about what you plan on doing. I know you've pretty well hit the top of it, but your services, we've looked at those, the Service Titan, we've looked at wiki pages. Where do you want to start? Is there a starting part for you?
There's not. Like, I was helping a CVC client this morning with the showroom stuff, who's building out a showroom. So I'm able to talk brands with him. Like, what does his market look like in order for him to choose the right brands? I've been doing this so long, as I tell my staff all the time, I said, all this late night drinking has paid off because I've made a lot of friends over the years at all these conventions, and I can call people up and I can get the right information. So, I'm able to help. I'm probably another client who wants to get in more into stoves. Like, let's see if we can get you into some different brands, get you some better margins. Let's see if we can buy your materials at a better price. Let's see where we can save the materials. That was all a lot of stuff that what my mother taught me very early on was, negotiating some of those deals and then knowing who to call. Like, okay, well, this distributor wants to do this. Well, let's see what this guy over here wants to do. And we'll call some reps and we'll find out who we need to get hold of. And if you've just been a sweep, a lot of times you don't have those connections to do that. Or sometimes if you're a business owner, you don't even have time to think about that stuff until someone comes in and says, okay, well, I think this distributor over here will give you an extra 10 points. Let's call them up and see what they want to do. And maybe the same product.
I like that because I think a lot of sweeps struggle with that. And I know even for us here, we don't have that great of margins on our units because we're not buying them like in huge bulk.
Yeah.
We're not getting that great of a deal. So I think that's an excellent service.
But yeah, if you want to take me on as a client, Brandy, I can help with that.
I do want a wiki site. It's just convincing Jeremy to make the time to get it all help set up, but I definitely want a wiki site from you. And I know your forums too are great. I just got to get that man to make time.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, Jerry just put up that he's very excited with what you have to bring to the table. He's been working with that idea for a while. So I think Brandon and I are both glad that he got you to come on to the company because you're a piece that we didn't have and a very important piece. And I think I'm glad you decided to join the CVC team. because I think you'll take us to another level.
Yeah, I said I definitely have a lot of that technical expertise in writing these SOPs and things like that, because people always ask, well, how do you write so many SOPs? Like, I was angry for a very long time.
Yeah, we used to say that to get Josh to do an SOP, you had to get him mad.
Yeah.
So that's just a clue for anybody that has him to do an SOP. You got to get him mad, and he can right away.
Oh yeah, well, especially as I, built more stuff into the, I had to go back and rewrite SOPs because I was like, ooh, my anger level was a 10 that day. I can feel the stabbiness in this.
Yeah.
In this SOP. And shoot, I had a thing. And even then, like, I have an employee that just came to me from another company, and a small accident happened, and he's like, "Why aren't you blowing your top?" I'm like, "Well, what's that going to achieve?" Like, I've learned it's been a slow decline of the anger, but I'm like, okay, so yeah, I'm upset. Nobody's hurt. The truck's still running. Will there be discipline? Yeah, there'll be some fallout from it, but it's all written out. This isn't the first time, and this won't be the last time there's an accident. And where he came from, the owner just blew his top on every single thing. And I was like, yeah, did anything ever change? He's like, no.
Yeah.
But especially when you're in these panic situations or, these things are going to happen again. You're going to get another employee that does the same stupid shit. And one thing I've learned is when you can calm down, you step away. Okay, how do we address this in the future? Because this is going to happen again. Then you can just go back to the handbook and go,
Right.
Okay, this is what we wrote with cooler heads. Everyone agreed this was the right thing. Okay, it's a 3-day suspension, it's a 5-day suspension. You're terminated. It's a write-up or whatever that is. And to me, it protects the employee and it protects me because there's no excuse when you have an intranet of them not knowing anything. It's part of when we have a 3-day onboarding process of just going through SOPs, because I always tell them you don't have to know everything in there because it's damn near impossible. Even though I've written pages and pages and pages novels of SOPs, I don't know everything about everything, but your job is going to be to know how to research that thing, and that's what it's going to come down to. Read it and interpret it and follow it. And if you can't do that, then we got real problems.
I think for compliance, I like the wiki site as well, so that, if something does ever come up or you get audited by OSHA or somebody, that compliance of just having that where you can prove that it's readily accessible to them at all times and see when they last logged in.
Their MSDS sheets are on there.
Yes.
Because that's always, I know something OSHA looks at.
Yep.
And they sign off on that day one. They know where the MSDS sheets are because they can't say, we don't know where it's at. And like, no, you signed off day one that the MSDS sheets are on the, on the shared file and you knew where to access them. They sign off. You can have them virtually sign off on their safety briefings. Is a good thing when you have a whole safety book, and you can have them take a test at the end. And assuming they do well enough on the test, you can have them, pass or fail. But then gives you something to say. Hey, he passed his safety test. He knows better. Yeah. He has passed some compliance checks. There's only so much I can do. They work remotely,
Yeah, it definitely protects you as an employer. Going back to the accident, I know, like, we'll have a bad day around here, like nothing huge, but like things will just fires that have to put out or something. And my motto is always, at least nobody died today. It was a good day as long as nobody died. Yes.
Yep. Nope. And that's what my new employee said. I'm like, look, man, nobody's hurt. Nobody died. We'll recover. And he just was like, I can't believe you didn't blow your top.
I'm a little surprised too.
Like I said, I've already, keep in mind, I've been doing this 20 years. I've already went through that range of emotions. So I already know what course of action I'm taking. And so there's nothing to get upset about. Or if there's a workplace injury, how do you report it? Things like that. Because sometimes, hell, I've had a stove drop on my hand.
Yeah.
It hurts. I can tell you, you don't think straight. Your helper may not be thinking straight, but there's a whole section on there on injuries. Obviously first it's trauma is to get that taken care of, but the documentation and that sort of stuff, where that goes, because workplace accidents are going to happen. Hell, I was helping the guys clean out a truck, and I've got probably a 3-inch scar across the palm of my hand from a liner just whipping out and cutting the palm of my hand. It's probably, you can see it to this day. That it happens. We have cut-proof gloves now, but again, I wasn't back there with cut-proof gloves on. I was just standing around not doing anything. So I decided to help, and the liner just came out of the saran wrap and cut me.
Well, and if you're watching and you have telework employees, remote employees, you still are required to have your labor posters provided to them. When you're posting your OSHA 300 form, they need to see that. And with the wiki site, you can post all of that right there.
Yes.
So that's how you can stay compliant.
Yeah, right on well, for me, I have policies for every department along with company policies. And that's actually, a great way so they can see that.
Well, the thing is, Josh, the one advantage you have over a lot of other people that may have been brought on to CVC is you've had the knowledge. You know how to put it together. You know it from the inside out. This is not new. You know how to work a lot of systems. I'm amazed at all that you can do. And plus you can write this stuff. So you've done it. You've been there. And I think that's what's going to move you even farther in this, because people are a lot more comfortable with people that have been in the situations that they're going to be in, and you know what to set up for them. So you're not wasting their time or yours. And
No.
I think that's where you're the biggest asset.
Well, I had this conversation with Brandi. I said, we're a group of all current and former business owners, so we've felt everybody's pain. We've all had the employees do the same thing. So, I may not have the answer, but I can tell you who the first 2 people I'm going to call or text, or now Brandi's got me on Telegram.
Yay!
I can tell you where that question is going to go, and we'll probably be able to find you an answer.
Well, and that's the thing, and I think you both will agree with this. That's the advantage of actually working with CVC. Mm-hmm. If one of us doesn't know it, somebody will, or we will know somebody that can give you the answer, and you don't have to waste the time Googling it. Actually, if a lot of things are on Google, and don't ask chat because it won't answer a lot of this stuff. But that's the way it is. I'm working with it. I'm not sure about it yet, but we're coming close to time. Josh, anything else you would like to say? And then I want Brandi, if she has any, or why don't you start, Brandi? Do you have any more questions that we need to
I don't think I have any more questions. I would just say, if you're listening, I would go back to what Sheryl said originally, that Josh is going to fill up very, very quickly. And so he will then be on a waiting list. There's only so many hours in the day. So if you're watching and you're thinking, hey, I want a wiki site, or hey, he can help me with my price book, I would just say get in contact with him as soon as possible.
Josh?
No, I think we about covered everything. Like I said, there's my personal webpage right there at the bottom. .pro is the same as .com, .net. I know it's a little weird, but what would Jesus do was apparently takes more preference than what would Josh do.
Very good. Well, we've enjoyed having you today. We're looking forward to having you on the team. I am looking forward to sending people to you. And here is Jerry just put on, let me get it up here. Our goal is to provide a top-level team of subject matter experts.
Absolutely.
And Josh has definitely going to be one of those people. I think we're going to use him a lot. And again, I'm going to reiterate it one more time. If you want Josh's help, get in touch with him now because, again, he won't be there that long. And with that, I would like to wish everyone a happy Easter coming up. It's almost the weekend. And please, let us help you go to that next level. That's what CVC is all about. We're all here. You're going to see Josh's face. Hoping he'll be on these a lot of Fridays with us. And so that'll give you an extra time to ask them questions. But don't hesitate emailing either one of us. We all have the CVC Success Group email and with our first names to begin with, and we're there for you. So anything we can do, get in touch with us, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.